Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to TLT Talks. We have an amazing show for you today. Wall Street Journal's best-selling author of the new book, Come Up for Air, How Teams Can Leverage Systems and Tools to Stop Drowning in Work. Something clearly nobody needs is a little more founder and CEO of Leverage. He's a guru of operational efficiency. Just the whole game for him is about greater output and less time with less stress. Nick, and there he is. He has worked with the likes of Tony Robbins, who's seen these coaches, Jay Abraham, Meta, ClickFunnels. I can go on and on, but I won't because he's here and we'd love to hear from him. Nick, thank you so much for taking time out of what I'm sure is a very busy schedule and book tour. Welcome, my friend. Welcome.
Thank you very much for having me. It's an honor.
Well, tell us about yourself. Who are you? What are you? Why'd you write the book? Give us all you got.
Well, so who I am, I'm an entrepreneur and author. I used to be a high frequency trader on Wall Street for about 8 years before getting into this space. A lot of people ask me why I wrote the book. I wrote the book because I know firsthand what it is like to drown in work. And the most common thing people tell me when I ask them how's things going, it's I'm drowning in work. And I know firsthand what it's like. When I first built my company, we grew very quickly. We grew to 7 figures in revenue the first year, bootstrapped, about 150 people on the team, which sounds impressive, but we made so many mistakes along the way. We had all the debt, we were losing a lot of money. We had an org chart with just 2 people, myself and my business partner. And the thing, even worse, he was the people-facing part of the org chart, and I was the non-people facing. And one day we're having coffee and he taps me on the shoulder and he tells me he's out. Not in 2 weeks, not in 2 days. He's out in 2 minutes, like literally 2 minutes. And I'm sitting there holding my coffee and I'm like sweating because I'm thinking, holy crap, we're gonna go bankrupt. Because although we had all this fast growth, we were operating really inefficiently. We were losing a ton of money. No one knew who I was. Like literally 5 team members out of 150 knew who I was. So within 3 months, we lose 40% of revenue. And I'm cashing out my 401k. My dad's taking a second mortgage on the house to make payroll. Bank accounts getting frozen. It was a complete cluster. And I had to make a decision at that point. Do I bankrupt the company or do I try to fix this thing? And I had a very clear idea of where we were tripping up and wasting a lot of time and money. So I started cleaning up how we communicated because it was just all over the place. You know, it wasn't easy to find a message.
Right.
Then I started realizing I need to clean up. It's not easy for me to even know who's working on what here.
Right.
So I knew that we needed to clean up how we did our planning. What's the status of tasks and projects? And then the third thing I needed to focus on is like, where are we storing all of our knowledge? Where are our resources? Like our SOPs, our processes. I was already fairly good with that. So like when my business partner left, I had access to everything. But I started focusing on these things and very quickly, this sinking ship started actually turning around, and people started reaching out, asking me to consult them. So at the very beginning, we weren't. Right now, Leverage is a operational efficiency training and consulting firm. But back then, we were a freelancer marketplace doing tasks and projects for people. But people started reaching out, asking me to consult them on their efficiency and operations. And so Tony Robbins, you mentioned, he reached out, and Poopery, the poop spray, and other companies. And I started seeing this pattern, and it didn't matter if you're a famous coach, a poop spray company, or a cryptocurrency. Everyone was benefiting from learning best practices of kind of all these new tools available, right? You know, like email has been around forever. No one has ever been taught how to properly use it. And I saw just teaching people email that can save 3 to 5 hours a week. But in the last 10 years, you've got new tools. You've got Slack, you've got Asana, you've got all these tools, and no one's ever been taught when should you use text, when should you use email, when should you use Slack, how do you actually use these tools properly, and instead of getting 10% value out of them, get 80 or 90%. And I just saw this massive transformation in every business. So we decided to do a business pivot, and now the focus of my company is helping make teams and organizations of any industry, any size, more efficient. On average, we see very quickly you can get back a full business day a week per person on your team.
Wow.
If you clean up the scavenger, it's massive impact. It's crazy. And so I decided to write a book because I didn't want people to be in the pain that I've ever been in. And my mission is to be able to say that I was, part of kind of this foundational literature and this foundational framework of team productivity.
Right.
And I want to be known for helping have saved millions of hours of wasted time. I want people to spend their time on things that give them joy or tap into your unique ability. If your unique ability is sales, how do we maximize the amount of time you do sales and not going on a scavenger hunt looking for something, right? So that's what I'm all about, and that's why I wrote a book, and it's been a wild ride, but it's been fun.
Oh my God, sounds amazing. Do you know if my team is watching this right now, they're gonna think that I paid you to say half the things that you just said, because this is literally all the rhetoric on our team. We love Slack, we love Asana. For the agents, I look at an agent's phone sometimes, or anybody's phone sometimes, and I'll see that like their bubble of their email is like 27,000. I'm like, my God, how do you operate? What's going on with you?
Bro.
And this piece about growing the business too fast. I remember, as I was growing up and I was developing my real estate business and all, I had heard about this phenomenon of people that grow the top line, but, make less money. I'm like, who does that? Well, this guy found a way to do it quite easily and for a while. So this is, I got to tell you something. I think real estate is actually one of the least efficient industries in the world. Michael Remo, who put us in touch, would certainly agree with me. And I think that what you're doing is so special and so needed, not just for our industry, for every industry, but certainly our industry, because people just don't value taking a step back to take two steps forward. Or there's this expression about, if the lumberjack has 6 hours to chop down a tree, he'll spend the first 4 sharpening the axe. And it's just, in most sales industry, it's just go, 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 go. And finally, everyone's on board with like having a CRM and they understand the value of that. But having proper comps, having a clean inbox, having a Asana for projects, just understanding what you're doing with your time all the time. It just makes, besides the fact that you save time and make more money, you're just calmer and happier and more fulfilled. There's such a big psychological component to you.
There's so many benefits, and depending if you're an employee or a manager or a leader, like maybe some resonate more so than others, but you literally can have over a day back of time. So you could reinvest that to close more deals or work on more projects. You could use it to just reduce burnout and not be as stressed out. This is going to reduce burnout, reduce stress, increase culture. A big impact to culture is because trust breaks down. We've all been there before where, let's just make up a fake person. Like, let's just say Dave on the team. Well, Dave doesn't use systems great. So then you start stressing out. Like, Dave, you start sending Dave an email. Did you see this? And then there's like a text, and then there's a Slack message.
Oh my God.
And then you've had to waste all this energy and it's not fun for you to be like stressed out texting Dave on the 3 different platforms.
But neither is it fun for Dave to be receiving it everywhere. Now Dave feels micromanaged, right?
He's getting micromanaged and triple hammered with messages. And it's all because there's a lack of trust. Not that you don't trust Dave on an ethical level. It's a lack of trust that Dave is going to perform or execute what you're hoping for. And it's not that he doesn't want to. It's most likely it's because you haven't given him a framework. He doesn't know when and how to use these tools. And things get lost, and we're all busy, and we're all drowning in work. And if you don't have a framework and know kind of where to put different things, and it's like the equivalent if you tried operating on a typewriter right now, but you have a Mac M2 chip. Like, if you don't use these tools properly, it's like you're using a typewriter still, and your competitors have the M2 chip. So, in the last 10 years, there's all this new ways of working that's available through technology. There's never been a handbook on how to best use it, and that's why I wrote this book. But if you use these tools properly, it can completely, fundamentally change the productivity of your team and the culture and the stress.
Oh man, I'm such a big fan of everything you're saying. Well, So my experience, I think you'll probably agree, almost always when I'm coaching people or mentoring people or even just having conversations, and there's some version of not getting to an outcome or frustration or not seeing a result, like 98% of the time you ask what's going on and time will come up. I don't have enough time or something like that. What are some of the ways, like why do you think people say that? And what are some of the ways that maybe they can change their thinking about becoming more efficient?
Well, people say it because they're drowning in work, and like we're living in a time right now where there's more pressure than ever to perform, like we're going through a recession. And so there's hiring freezes in a lot of companies. So you have less resources of human capital. There's higher expectations of each individual. And also there's just gross inefficiency too.
Right.
And that's the bucket that I care about. There's 3 ways to increase capacity. Hire more people. Usually that's the most expensive way. If you can even do it at all. Right now there's so many hiring freezes, you can't. But if you think about, even if you could, think about the cost. You've got to recruit, onboard, train, pay a salary, and every person you add to the team adds exponential complexity. It's Metcalfe's law. It follows a network effect. Same like cell phones. What's the value of a cell phone if there's only one person in the world with a cell phone? 0. You have no one to call.
Yeah.
You start adding 2 people, 3 people, 4. It's exponentially more valuable because you have exponential more ways to connect with people.
Right.
The downside to that thinking, though, is when you start adding more bodies to the mix on your team, there's exponential more ways to communicate, exponential more ways for information to get lost, forgotten, balls getting dropped. So that's the first way to increase capacity. The second is you ask people to work harder, and that's what causes burnout. People don't like being told to work 100 hours a week. And then the third is you make them more efficient. And usually every person that's complaining about not enough time, I can guarantee you there's an extra 10, 15, maybe even 20 hours a week that they could get back that's available to them. You just need to know where to look. Some of the mindset things that you could do. Now, my book is about my framework. I have a very specific framework on how to be more efficient. But I'll just share with you a few underlying ideas that you could, just start thinking about. So the underlying concept of my book, like my theory, and again, I'm all about team productivity. There's plenty of books out there about individual productivity you can look at, but mine is really the first about how teams and organizations can be productive. And individual productivity is necessary but not sufficient for a team to be productive. It requires collaboration, coordination, and sometimes as an individual you have to sacrifice your own productivity for the greater good of the team. So that's kind of the first thing, is understanding individual productivity is necessary but not sufficient. Right. Now the second thing to be thinking about is, and it's the underlying principle of my entire book, which is you should be, as a team, you should be setting up systems and processes to optimize to retrieve whatever you need to find as fast as possible, not to transfer. What ends up happening right now in teams, what do you do when you're overwhelmed and you have no more time? You literally just do whatever it takes to move on to the next thing. So you play hot potato. It's like, here, Eugene, just take it. And that could be like a text. It could be an email. It could be this. And you do whatever's fastest for you as an individual in the moment, playing hot potato, and you're optimizing to transfer. Yep. But if everyone's playing that same game, the whole team loses. Because in the moment, congratulations, you saved a second, right? But now you just made your colleague waste 2 minutes looking for it in a week from now, right? And in business, there's all these drawers that you need. There's a drawer for communication. There's a drawer for tasks. There's a drawer for your SOP. There's all these drawers. And you need to be aligned as a team what belongs in what drawer. And think of it this way. Like in your personal life, when you do your laundry, the fastest way to be done with laundry would be you take it out of the dryer and you stick it all in one drawer, right? You don't do that. You separate. You separate your socks in one drawer and your underwear in another drawer and your t-shirts in another drawer, and you spend the time. You invest the time. I don't like the time. That's right. Just like you can spend and invest money, you can spend and invest time. You invest the time to separate those things not because it's the fastest way to be done with your laundry, but tomorrow when you need to put an outfit together, it's much faster. it's that mentality that you need to align your
Good
company and
analogy.
your team.
I've used the kitchen analogy, like, when you walk into your kitchen, you don't need everything at once, but when you need salt, you go there. But laundry is a really good analogy. I've never used the laundry. I'm gonna steal that if that's all right.
Yeah, I'll give you another one. You could do the same with you could take your forks and knives out of the dishwasher and throw it all into like one drawer,
That's
but you
right.
separate it too. But
That's right. There you go.
so there's a million examples we can use, but the point is, in business, you don't think about that for whatever reason. And a big reason, in my experience, and like we've worked with thousands of teams, the reason why is because when you're drowning in work, you literally are in survival mode.
Yeah.
So when you're in survival mode, you optimize for short-term wins versus doing what's best for long-term. And so if you can get out of survival mode, and it's tough. If you're in survival mode, you got to figure out what's the shortest path to get out of pain. And we could cover kind of like what could you do right now if you want, but you got to figure out a quick win to get out of pain. How can you just get a little bit of breathing room? How can you just give your team back 3 hours a week? But that might just be all that it takes to get that breathing room to then go and do the next thing and make that 3 hours 5 hours.
Yeah.
And then in another month, maybe that 5 hours turns into 6 or 7. And it's just like compound interest. You get compound time.
Yeah, oh, man. So good. So
Another
true.
mindset thing too is that it's not just about saving time, it's about optimizing time. And time isn't linear. 9 a.m. on a Monday might be 10 times more valuable of a time slot to you than 7 o'clock on a Friday in the back of an Uber. You have no Wi-Fi. You're tired. You've had a million Zoom calls for the week. Versus like 9 a.m., you had a relaxing weekend. You woke up, you had your kombucha, you did your workout, you journaled, you had your coffee. Like your brain might be firing at full horsepower. So if your time is worth $100 an hour, maybe that time slot's like a $500 an hour time slot. Right. And maybe 7 o'clock on a Friday when you're tired, maybe that's like a $10 an hour time slot. So how can you optimize your time, and how can you make sure that when your brain is firing at full horsepower, you're doing the most valuable stuff possible? And then how do you shift some of the crap that you're doing on those high value times to take better advantage of the low value time in an Uber? It's the same reason why you don't want to take a therapist appointment on a Friday at 7. Like you want your therapist to be fresh, right?
Yeah, that's right. No, it's spot on, man. And I oftentimes when I get this question about time, it's real. The person that says this thing, I don't know time, they truly and honestly believe it. But time is also the one truly fair commodity. We all have the same amount of time, just not, that's a really good distinction. We all have the same amount of time, and not all time is created equal. And what you're saying, it's so valuable. Sometimes, like if you know your brain is at max horsepower because you're an early bird, you're that 5:30 a.m. person. That's me. Like I love that 5:30 to 8:30 championship hours. But some people, like a Tony Robbins, is a night owl. He doesn't wake up early, but he'll be up till 4 in the morning. Everybody's different. So I think that's really spot on, is just understanding how you work. And this other part about team productivity is so true. Michael Remo, who's our head of operations, marketing, finance, our mutual friend, man, he is so tough and thorough about this exact point. Like, where is it going to get saved in Drive? Where's the process going to live? Where's the SOP going to live? How are we going to do this? Let's not just do it right now. Let's figure out a process for the future. And it's like in the moment, it can feel sometimes, that'll be my suggestion to people. In the moment, sometimes it can feel like, come on, man, I just want to get it done. But if you do that over and over and over again, it's always going to feel that way. Whereas if you take the extra couple minutes to just get it done and clean it up for next time, the next time will feel a lot easier. And then over a period of time, there's a big push in the beginning, but over time, things just start to ease up a bit. So with that, Michael Riem actually asked a question. Michael, if you're watching, Michael, thank you for everything you've done for the Litvak team. I want to say that publicly to everyone that's going to watch it, because what a difference it's been in the cleanup of these systems.
I mean, Mike's a rock star. I mean,
totally.
we sometimes jam on stuff, and the guy's a rock star. You're like,
yeah, totally. His brain just works different. It's really awesome. Yeah. It's really awesome. So it was actually Mike's question. What can people start doing? Him and I are both big on, all right, cool. We had a chat. That's lovely. What can I actually do? So we've got a few minutes left here. What can people start doing right now? Like, what's something they could do now to start saving themselves some time?
The number one thing that we help people with at Leverage is how to use email properly. That if you can get a grip on your email, know how to get to inbox zero, which might seem impossible for you, but literally we've worked with people that have had hundreds of thousands of emails, and we can get them in a few hours down. Getting a grip on your email is the number one thing, because you might be listening right now and never heard of Slack or Asana or these tools, right? And maybe you need to work your way into those. But you use email, you're using Outlook or Gmail most likely, and especially if you're in the real estate space, you're probably getting hundreds of emails a day. And so knowing how to sort through those in an efficient way so that you're not wasting time with email. But also, I can't tell you enough, Eugene, how many people, when we're working with them, they stop us. They're like, I just need 5 minutes. I didn't realize I missed this email and it's worth 20 grand to me or something. You know what I mean? So it's email, there's like literally money and opportunity sitting in people's inboxes that have just been missed. And you're wasting easily 3 to 5 hours a week just on that. And then what kind of investment can you make where you could, on average, it takes about 3 hours to learn how to get to inbox zero and get to zero. So literally in 3 to 5 hours, you could fix the problem. And then for the rest of your life, you're saving 3 to 5 hours. It's a 1 week return.
Like no-brainer, like a total no-brainer.
So, you know, and then there's some mindset things with email. It's just an external to-do list that other people can add to. And then there's 3 things that you could do with every email.
Can you repeat that? An email, an inbox is an external to-do list. Are you people listening to this? The inbox is an external to-do list that other people can add to without any rules or guidelines or regulations. Wow, that's really powerful. That's really powerful.
Yeah,
I'm totally using
we got a lot of great one-liners in the book.
Yes, it's good. I'm going to rewatch this myself, I think, every week.
And there's 3 things that you can do with every email. You can reply, you can archive, or you can defer. So we have a system that we talk about in the book called RAD. Most people aren't using the defer. It's built into emails nowadays, so you can snooze emails to have it disappear and reappear back in. People aren't utilizing search. They have too many folders. They're not using the settings properly. So this isn't rocket science. The good news is in literally a few hours, you can fix this problem and save 3 to 5 hours a week and never miss another important email. So it's a quick win, and that's usually where we recommend people starting.
That's awesome, man. And the truth is, email happens to be the universal communication form. This is where everyone communicates. So if in your world, you know, and today is tough. You've got Instagram, WhatsApp, Viber, text messages. You've got, I mean, there's a million things. Then you got the WhatsApp, the Slacks, you know, the Monday, but email's the one that everybody's on. And email's the one where everyone's communicating around. So if you don't have your primary source of communication organized, it's only a matter of time before you drop the ball on something, lose something, have somebody follow up with you. And in every entrepreneurial world, the inbound follow-up is the kiss of death. That's when you start to lose trust, rapport, accountability, et cetera, et cetera. Nick, I could literally talk to you for the entire day. This is like, you're talking my love language, man. Optics and triggers is like my love language. But I want to be really respectful of your time. People, buy this book. I know that for most people, you know, you think that, or for many people, you think making money means working harder. It's actually not. It's working smarter, or some combination of both. But efficiency, my God, how much better you can be in your life and in your spirit. Like you'll just be calmer, less stressed, less blind. Like for me, I don't mind when I have a lot of work. I don't mind that at all. But if I feel like I'm doing redundant work or I'm running in circles, that feels awful. And equally, if I know I've got to spend the next 10 hours doing these 15 things, fine. But when something catches me in my blind spot, that's when I'm startled. So all this work eliminates all that, and you'll just be literally a more productive, happier person. So buy the book. Nick's got a website, comeupforair.com. Join it, follow him. I'm sure he's easy to find on the gram. Nick, any final thoughts? Anything I might have left out? Anything you want to share?
Well, no, you mentioned the URL www.comeupforair.com. The book is a 320-page, basically, there's no fluff in this book. It's really, if you read this book cover to cover, it will change your productivity. And there's no fluff. It's exactly all the tactics that you need to save that day a week. HarperCollins was my publisher, and they didn't want me going longer than 320 pages. And I'm an efficiency geek, so like if I weren't, this would have been like a 1,400-page book. But on on comeupforair.com, we put a bunch of additional resources that didn't make it into the book. So throughout the book, we're like, if you want to see the quiz, the calculator, the more in-depth PDF. So we've put all that up on comeupforair.com. So you can learn about where to buy the book, but you could also get the additional bonus resources that we put together that didn't make it into the book.
Amazing. Amazing. Nick, you truly, you know, everyone talks about wanting to do something good for humanity, and you're truly doing that. This is so invaluable. This is so invaluable. Thank you very much, my man. Thanks for taking a couple minutes.
No, thanks for having me. And Mike Rima, thanks for putting this together. This is awesome.
All right. Have a good one, my man. See ya.
Yeah.